All right, so I just shot a couple rounds. I'm not exactly confident in how many rounds are left in this magazine, okay? So let's talk about reloads, okay? There's really two types of reloads, main types that we're gonna talk about. One is proactive and one is reactive, okay? So diving right into this, proactive reloads, this comes in many different names. People from all walks of life call it different things, for everything from like TAC mag, tag exchange, reduced capacity reload. I'm simply taking this magazine out of the gun in favor for one that has all the rounds in it, okay? So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna retrieve a new mag. Now notice where I'm grabbing it from, not my primary spot, but somewhere else, okay? I'm gonna catch that magazine with reduced capacity, and I'm going to insert a fresh mag and then store this guy in a pouch that isn't my primary spot for emergency reloads, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit, okay? Now, I'll holster, I'll continue with whatever else I'm doing. That is a proactive way of ensuring the gun has as much ammo as possible. Let's talk about gear, okay, when it comes to reloads and managing ammo. As you can see, I have 3 dedicated pistol pouches on my belt, and I also have this magnet. This magnet really is just there to help me with unloading, showing clear, or if I have something like a table start where I have to grab a mag and quickly put it on my belt. I'm not gonna take the time there to stick it in the mag pouch. I'm just gonna stick it to the magnet, okay? And what that looks like is like this. I get the unload, show clear command. I stick the magazine right there on my magnet. I unload, show clear, I holster, and I'm good. I don't have to fumble with mags or anything like that, okay? So that's one of the many uses of a magnet. With my 3 mag pouches, I actually did that reduced capacity exchange with a magazine that was furthest away from the center of my belt, or let's say closest to the gun, right? I wanna maintain this primary spot where I will conduct my emergency or slide lock reloads, where I will conduct reloads on the move, say in a stage or a drill. All of those are coming from this spot. And I wanna make sure that this magazine is full, and I don't mess with it by putting a magazine of unknown rounds, and then when I conduct a reload, I get slide lock or something worse. Really quickly, I am going to now take off all my live ammo, okay? And I'm gonna get rid of it. So live ammo is put to the side. I am now going to use my trusty training mag. As you can see, it's clearly marked. I have rounds in here that have real projectiles, real casings, just no primers and certainly no powder, okay? This is a safe way to practice with something that's weighed the same as a real live magazine, but I know it won't go bang when I dry fire, okay? Secondly, I'll make sure that I'm clear, and I, of course, am facing a safe direction. All the safety boxes are checked, okay? Let's talk about how to isolate the actual reload, okay? Now, this is where we start to go into reactive reloads, and certainly a reload where I'm dropping a magazine that has ammo in it on the ground in favor of a new one, say when I'm moving around a stage, or say when I just simply don't have a place to put a magazine in retention, then yeah, you better believe I'm going to proactively get rid of that magazine, let it fall to the ground, and insert one that has all of the ammo, okay? So there's really 2 ways to do this, okay? The entire process of the reload, right? It just involves me dropping the magazine, inserting a new one, and then getting back on target, okay? Now, yes, can we stand here for several minutes, half an hour to an hour, and just practice the entire reload process? Of course, okay? I like to be a little more specific than that, okay? In fact, I would recommend you are too, all right? I like to think of the reload in really 2 separate parts, okay? And then for me, the hardest part is getting the magazine oriented and inserted into the mag well, okay? That for me is by far the biggest friction point. So that's where kind of part 1 ends, okay? So here you have it, part 1, okay? You are going to start, now notice how I don't have a magazine in the gun, okay? That's to prevent me from having to pick up magazine, insert, pick up magazine, insert, and waste a bunch of time where I should be getting repetitions, okay? So yes, I start with the gun empty, right? And no magazine inserted, okay? The next thing is I'm gonna set my timer to a part time to where I'm trying to get to. So like, let's say, for simple math, I am looking for a 2-second reload split, okay? That is a very generous time, but I'm gonna show you how to get there, okay? So I'm gonna set the part time to 1 second. And all I want you to think, I wanna get part 1 done in under a second, okay? And this is part 1 here, all right? So my ready position will be my sights on target, my grip perfected, everything is solid, and my fingers on the trigger, okay? When the tone goes off, when I get the start signal, I am going to go finger off the trigger, hit the mag release immediately, okay? Of course, nothing's gonna come out, but if you don't do this in practice and you omit the mag release, it's gonna show up when you start doing this live or when you have a mag in there, okay? So be honest with yourself, hit that mag release, okay? As you're hitting the mag release, you are also gonna be retrieving that full mag, okay? And part 1 ends when that first round has disappeared into the mag well and I reconnect visually to the target. So by the second tone, your goal should be to have that first round into the mag well and reconnect visually to the target. So a couple things here, a couple principles to follow, okay? I want you to look on my mag well, okay? I have on the Glock logo a tiny little red mark that just gives me something to look at, okay? When I am going through a reload, I take my focus off a precise point on the target and I put it on the gun, right here specifically on the mag well. So I can ensure that this insertion is happening correctly and confidently and consistently so that I don't sit here and maintain my focus on the target but fumble with the mag and start doing all sorts of goofy things, right? I wanna make sure that this is happening consistently and efficiently, all right? Next, I make sure that I'm pointing that mag well at the incoming mag, right? I don't want to have a ton of angle to where now my support arm has to unnaturally index the magazine into the mag well. And I certainly don't want to keep this thing up here and cause my shoulders to not have to dip to bring the magazine into the mag well. I want to pin my bicep muscle into my ribs and just create a nice index point where my magazine is naturally pointed at the incoming mag, and it should end up looking something like that, okay? And of course, like I alluded to, part 1 ends when I can reconnect visually to the target, okay? And this is what it should look like. All right, so once I start to nail part 1 and I'm starting to beat that 1 second part time, then I'm gonna allow myself to drop the part time down, okay? So let's dive into part number 2, okay? As you can remember, part 1 ended with that first round inserted, right? And I'm reconnected visually to the target. So in part 2, all right, when I get the tone, I am going to seat the magazine, and then all I have to do here to start building my grip again is simply roll the gun over and then seat that index point on my support side index finger into the trigger guard, and then start building my grip. And then guess what? What does this look like? It just looks like a presentation, guys, right? And all I need to do is present the sights back on target. Part 2 ends when I have reconnected to the target visually, which I should already have, but I'm seeing my sight on target, right? It isn't just simply going bang or going click and trying to beat that second tone. Nope. Part 2, the measure for success is my grip is built perfectly and I see my sight right where I'm looking. All right? And so it should look like this under time. Again, I'm trying to beat that 1 second part time. All right? And as you can see, I'm beating that pretty comfortably, okay? So then the goal is simply to do some math, right? If I'm able to beat part 1 in a second, and I'm able to beat part 2 in a second, then 1 plus 1, you guys guessed it, is 2, right? And then the goal just becomes, can I put part 1 and part 2 together and now start doing reloads in under my goal time of 2 seconds, right? And let's see. And as you can see, it doesn't really require a whole lot of hand speed. I stay nice and relaxed. I apply the principles in part 1, get that done nice and cleanly. I seat the mag, I build my grip, and then I get part 2 done. And you can easily see how this process leads to lower and lower and lower part times, okay? Now, do I want to hang out at 2 seconds? No, because I just beat that pretty easily, right? So what if I get down to 1.5 seconds, right? And this is where you'll be able to get if you apply this process, and certainly if you put in the time and effort to go through these repetitions in dry fire. All right, cool. So that is putting together, and that's how you drop your part times, okay? Figure out how to do the steps correctly, and then start pushing the part times. Do it faster and faster and faster. All right, you guys, so I am done with dry fire for now. I am now gonna validate what we just put out with some live fire. So I'm going to secure my dry fire mag in favor of my live ammo. So to set this isolation up for live fire, all I have to do, okay, is load the magazine into the gun and then chamber around. I'm then going to eject that magazine and store it, okay? And so now when the timer goes off, I'm not going to fire that initial round, because if I do that, I'll be left with an empty gun that's now slide forward, okay? What I want to do instead is on the timer, I want to again hit the mag release, insert that fresh mag, re-index on target, and fire around, thus stopping the time. This gives you a true measure of an isolated reload split, okay? And this is what it'll look like. Again, I'll try to go, let's try to go like a quarter hand speed here, all right? Let's see what this does. All right? So even with a little dry fire, with that 2-second part time, I came in at 163, okay? So I will then eject the magazine. I'll store it in that primary spot. I'll make sure I'm chambered, and I'll do it one more time. All right, let's go 50% hand speed here. All right, and that of course times in a little faster at 138. Okay, I'll store that mag, and that's a good way to just keep getting repetitions over and over again. Now we are going to apply all of the dry fire, all of this isolation work in live fire into one really easy low round count drill that will give us a lot of information, okay? We're going to run a drill that we run at our classes called 4 aces. 4 aces is a drill that includes a draw, firing 2 shots, conducting a reload, and then firing an additional 2 shots, okay? So think about all those data points we're getting. We're getting a draw split, we're getting a split on target, a reload split, and an additional split. All really valuable information. Lots going on in just 4 rounds, all right? Let's give it a shot here. I'm going to make ready. Again, ensuring that my primary pouch has a magazine in it. And notice I made ready from a magazine not in my primary spot, okay? All right, again, the goal is draw, fire 2, and reload, fire 2. All right, that was clean in a time of 2:50. All right, and here I have a lot of data available to me like I alluded to earlier, okay? So my first round split was a 0.86, followed by a 0.15 split, okay? And at that juncture, I was at a 1.01 seconds, okay? And then a 1.31 reload split, and then that followed up with a 0.18, which gives me 2.50, okay? That's the process that I followed for about 3 years now to reduce my overall reload split, okay? Again, it starts with identifying a process for yourself. Once you figure out a process for yourself that's working, that's efficient, that's nice and clean, free of any extenuous motions like, mag flipping or doing anything like that, then you start to put it to a part-time. And then to get faster, you just force yourself to do it faster and faster and faster. And what you'll find is the more relaxed you'll stay, the more efficient your movement is, the faster you'll be able to get this done, and the sooner you'll be able to recover your sights on target. So give it a shot. There's your homework. Get it done.